Let's see if these things are worth it. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. If you've been on YouTube lately, you've probably been hit with that reverb ad saying, hey, we've got these Guild guitars that are normally $500, now about half price. So I reached out to Guild to see if they would send me a couple for review. So full disclosure, this is a sponsored episode because I've been compensated with these two guitars. The companies don't get to see this review before it goes live. What I say is what I personally think. Let's check out the Guild Surfliner. So I wanted to review these because I thought it kind of looked cool. It reminds me of like some Fender style guitars, but yet you got your cool maple fretboard. This one's got some nice wood grain to it. But then you have like a Starcaster and or Firebird-esque headstock. This is just such a cool surfy design to it. That's probably why they called it the Surfliner. So first impressions, it is a little bit wider than I was expecting. It's got quite a sizable body to it, but it's very slim, especially in the area where it comes in contact with your body because they have this whole comfort cut design going on. It is a bolt-on neck. It's a full gloss finish, so it's not like cheapy looking satin stuff. However, the neck is still satin. Like it feels kind of like a raw wooden feel. But if you don't like that, you can always take polishing cream and buff it up, and that'll naturally happen over time anyways. But so far, I'm thinking for $269. Yeah, I don't think you can really go wrong with this. Feels very quality to me. What's unique about this is it does not have a pickup selector switch. In a traditional sense, it's got two on and off switches. So you'll either like or hate that, but hey, if you really want a toggle switch, I'm sure we can fit one in, and I'll tear this apart on the Workbench just to make sure that'll fit. But for the discount ones, it's only the two humbucker versions. However, there is an HSS setup, and they have a plethora of different colors, from orange to blue to green. But for the two HH versions, we've got this one, which is Shoreline Mist. I wasn't sold on this color at first, but it's got a good color shift in person with the metallic paint job. And then we've got Canyon Dusk, which I thought was going to be my favorite, and yeah, seeing it in person. I like it. It's like a purplish blue color. Do tell me, which one's your favorite? I thought for sure I was going to like Canyon Dusk better, but because this particular one happens to have that really nice wood grain on the fretboard. It's one of those situations where you think you like one color online, but then when you actually see it in the flesh, something about the way the light dances on it just makes you prefer it. But here we are from the back as well, just in case that changes your mind. I really do like the neck plate, how they carved a G out of it for the whole Guild logo. I was actually quite shocked to see that these are angled headstocks, just like Gibson does. So that's how they get away with not using string trees, which is actually really cool for someone like me. Then the next thing that stood out to me is Guild has these like giant strap buttons on them. They kind of feel like Dunlop strap locks, they stick up so high. But I was curious where these were made, and the answer is actually on the backside of our headstock. They're Indonesian. So first impressions, yeah, I totally believe these belong in the $500-ish range brand new. But let's go ahead and throw them onto the Workbench to learn a little bit more about their detailed specs outside of what I've already just told you, and then we'll plug one in and have some fun there. Decided to tear apart the Dusk one. I was surprised what I saw under here, but I guess now that I think about it, it's not that surprising. If you're not a big fan of the two humbucker version, look, it's a whole swimming pool route. So if you've been looking for a guitar that you can throw whatever you want in here, whether that be 3 humbuckers, 5 single coils, maybe 1 humbucker and one of those crazy triple, quadruple humbucker type things, yeah, this one will take it. It's got the routes to accommodate most things. I think a couple of Jazzmaster pickups in one of these would be nice. It has a depth of about 1.2 inches, where the legs for the humbuckers are routed, but just about 1 inch for where the body of the pickup is. And you're working with roughly 3 inches of width within this route, with about 5.5 inches long. So a Les Paul style toggle switch if you'd rather have that. It just might fit that depth, but you'd probably want to go for an L-shaped one. But here's a look at the stock switches and how they're put in there. As far as the pickups, they are Guild branded. It just says neck and bridge. Their website just calls them the HB2 Guild humbuckers. But this is kind of cool. It's actually 4 conductor. So 2 of the pickup wires go to here, and then the green and the whites go down here. I was not expecting coil splitting switches. I never made it that far in the ads. So that means you have neck normal, neck split, bridge normal, bridge split, middle split, and then you can toy around with having the bridge split with the neck or the neck split with the bridge. So there's 8 different tones that you can coax out of this. But it's being based on a master volume, master tone setup with your pretty snazzy looking Guild knobs here. They move very quickly. And you've got your output jack here on the front. And to turn the pickups off, it's the O position. So just the neck. It's a pretty standard humbucker, 7.12, maybe a little bit underwound. Our bridge is a bit hotter at 7.5. Then both of them together will be 3.7. Then this one splits the bridge. And then if you want to split the neck, you have to go to your other one. But having them on that 2 different pots allows you to play with your middle position a bit more. But these are being advertised as poplar bodies. I could not see through to the wood grain anywhere so far. But the finish job seems impeccable, and that's a nice gloss finish. You can see your little contour right here on the edge just to make it not so sharp while you're playing. As far as your bridge and tailpiece, your tailpiece is just the string through ferrules, and your bridge is the standard import BM002, kind of ABR1 in style, although with metric studs so you can adjust them. But moving on from our poplar body, we've got our maple neck. Now, full disclosure, I wanted to see if I could buff up the finish on the fretboard, so I used some Scratch X as well as some Virtuoso polish. So if you got one and you felt that the fretboard was a little bit tacky, that helps take some of that off and clean it. And in the process, it also naturally shines the frets up just a little bit more. Straight out of the box, they weren't horrible, but they're not like super ultra shiny. So you could consider doing that if you want slightly shinier frets, as well as a less tacky feeling fretboard. But I measure a 25.5-inch scale length, then it's a 10-inch fretboard radius. And I measure a 1.66-inch nut width, increasing to 2.046 by the 12. First fret neck depth, 0.85, and 0.92 by the 12. It's more of a C-shaped neck. However, I do feel like a small transition point right here where it's kind of like a D shape. I'd actually say it's a rather thin feeling neck. Here's that neck profile at the 1st fret and the 12th fret. You can kind of see what I was talking about right there with just a very minor shoulder. It's not a lot, so don't think it's a D-shaped neck. I would still call it a C-shape, but it definitely has just a little bit of like a rounded hump. And the fretboard doesn't feel like it has much curve to it at all. It feels rather flat, but it feels pretty comfortable playing chords all the way up here and reaching your meaty solos up here. I don't think you're going to have any worries there. But as far as QC, I did see a small area right here where they didn't fill in the end of the fret, or maybe it sprouted. Because that's kind of what I figured most of these were, like warehouse units that were just overstock. Guild was able to confirm that once these are gone, they're gone. They're not producing them anymore. And if you really want to get in their face, oops, looks like a little bit of a finish chip right there where the bridge was installed. Otherwise, I didn't notice anything too crazy. I'll live with that for half price. And the dot markers appear to be some sort of an acrylic material. Hey there, Trogly from the future here. I just realized something else very strange about these. They come with 23 frets. Count them with me. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. I had to count that like 3 or 4 times. I've never ran into a 23 fretter. Usually it's 22 or 24. Hey, here's your headstock. This is quite interesting. So your Guild logo is slightly raised. Just like on the rest of the guitar, if you were to polish this headstock, it would get a slight shine. I'll show you that on the back of the neck. But you do have a vintage poke it down, wrap it around style tuner on here. Here's what your truss rod cover looks like. It's a 3-screwer. There's actually 2 sets of protective plastic on this. I just took off the loose one because it looked a bit crazy, but then I found out there's another one underneath it. Now moving on to the back. You can see that comfort carve we were talking about. Here's where your strings go through when it's time to change them. But you have a fairly sizable control cavity back here. So if you wanted to add independent volume and tone controls to each, you've got plenty of room to do that. I mean, you could do whatever you want. Like, you almost have enough room right here to put one of them Chord Chaos pads in it. If you're not scared to do some additional routing. But everything is shielded off in here, and you can see the style of push-pull pots that they're using with your basic output jack. But there's a closer look at our neck plate, as well as our long strap button down here, the other one at the top of the horn. Let's grab some dimensions. I'd say it's about 11.25 inches wide, and about 13.25 down here at the widest. The whole body's about 16.25 from where the neck joins. And roughly 9.5 at the waist, and about 1.6 inches thick. But check out how the body's sculpted right there. Instead of having just a flat block, they've rounded it over just a little bit so it doesn't feel uncomfortable or in your way. But yet they still left a little bit there to add some more security to it. But these are still a bolt-on neck. But let's look at the back side of the headstock real quick. You've got your model, Surfliner, and your serial number, as well as our Made in Indonesia sticker. But do you see how flat the finish is? This is how it leaves the factory. The whole neck is this feeling. But what I did is I polished the back of the neck just to show you what it'll look like after you play it a little bit. You can bring it into a semi-gloss just with those same materials I was showing you earlier. There's definitely a bit more of a finish on the back of the neck that you can do this with. The fretboard seems to be just a very light coating. But you can see here it is a scarf joint in construction, which means they've joined 2 pieces of wood together. And it is indeed a maple fretboard on top of a maple neck. Although if we go to the silver one, the scarf joint's like really well hidden here. I mean, if you didn't know about scarf joints, you might not even see it. But here's what it looks like out of the box as far as not being glossy. I just thought I'd do it to show you. Yeah, it's possible. It only takes like, what, 5 minutes? Or like what I was talking about earlier, if you want the headstock to be a little bit more blingy, you can do the exact same thing to have a shiny guild. But if you were curious how much these weigh, it's not bad. 6 pounds, 14.4 ounces. But the silver one is about a ½ pound heavier at about 7.5 pounds. So it seems to be around that 7 pound range, plus or minus a pound. So let's go ahead, plug it in, and hear how it sounds. Alright, so those were your basic tones. How's it feel on a strap? Perfectly light, nice and balanced. I wouldn't make the argument that the contour cut, for my body style anyways, is in the wrong position, because I like to hold my guitars like this, and this one would be a bit more comfortable like so. I guess it just depends on how you like to hold your guitars. It's not uncomfortable by any means. As I told you earlier, it's not that thick of a guitar to begin with. But so far, I think I prefer that neck pickup. Then our bridge position. It just sounds a little bit weak, but usually that's pretty good once you throw some distortion on it. Personally notice a lot of difference between having the neck split, bridge regular, and all that other good stuff. But you definitely hear a difference between both split. Stop the demo there. That's a great little chuggy tone. leather neck is really good. I think that's my favorite thing about this guitar is the neck pickup, even dirty. Good sustain. Let me know all about the Guild Surfliner. What are my final thoughts? Yeah. If you were curious about these, pick one up. I do not think you will regret your decision. I fully believe these are worth like the 400 to 500 bucks that they're normally asking. It's a lot of fun. I was not expecting much out of the pickups, being an import model guitar, but honestly, this neck pickup is good enough to put in a high-end guitar. It's ridiculously clear, both clean and distorted. I thought this one sounded really good tuned down. Got it down to drop C sharp for our chuggy sounds. I'm not saying that the bridge pickup is bad, it's just neck pickup definitely steals the show in my opinion. It's just fantastic. Ultimately, if there was one thing I didn't like about this guitar, it's the switching system. Not a big fan of the flippy switches and then having to push-pull. It gets confusing to know what you're on. And I would also personally like it better if both of them were controlled by one push-pull pot. Sure, that limits some of your tonal capabilities, but it gets you the main ones that you want. But that's easy enough to rewire, or pay somebody to rewire it like that if that's how you feel as well. But by far the most surprising spec to me had to be that the fact that the headstock was angled. I was not expecting that at all. Would I give one of these as a gift to somebody who's wanting to learn guitar? 100%. I don't see any qualms with that. Well, there you go. I hope this review helps you make an informed decision whether one of these is right for you or not. If you're interested in taking part of Reverb's sale on these, again, they're $269. You can actually support the show by clicking my affiliate link down in the description. That'll give me a very small kickback, but nonetheless appreciated if you found this video helpful in making your decision to want one. It also lets Reverb know that, hey, letting this guy make reviews is a good thing. Alright, Troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care. If you enjoyed this guild, you might enjoy the Kim Thales signature, Polera. It's kind of like an SG, but a little bit different.